All right, we're back with building the 2021 Mud Adder from RBSM Sports. Once you unbox everything, remove all the garbage, there's a few things you want to keep an eye out for. Inside the big box in the bottom of the box, you'll find your charger, your pedals, a really neat little handy tool that has all your Allen keys you can keep with you, and your pedal wrench. So make sure you don't lose those. Also, as you're building it, and you take the wheel off, on the wheel you're going to find your front quick release. This is zip tied to the spoke. Don't forget, or don't lose this, it's really important. It holds your front wheel on, and make sure you put that aside. On the quick release there are two, they're called tornado springs. Make sure they're in place. First thing we do, unscrew the quick release, the end cap, one tornado spring, and we put the handle side with the disc or rotor. So this is the side that it goes on. You put the tornado spring with the wide part of the spring to the outside. We thread the cap back on. Give it a few threads just so it's holding there. And we're going to go around to the front of the bike, and you're going to have the disc to the left-hand side of the bike. Lift up the front, and it's going to, well, first of all, we have to remove the spacer from the brake. There's a little red plastic spacer that's inside the brake pads. We take that out, that's just garbage, put to the side. Slide your wheel in. As you align it, you want to look down and look as the rotor slides into the brake. It will sit into the front fork. Make sure it's all undone properly, lots of space, and it will sit in. And once that's in, we'll come back in a second and I'll show you how to tighten down the front quick release and make sure everything is seated correctly and there's no rubbing on the brakes. Alright, so we're back. Now we're going to tighten the front quick release axle on your front wheel. So in the open position, you're going to tighten down the nut on the right hand side until it's just snug a little bit. You're going to continually move this arm up and you're going to feel it kind of start to tighten up. This does not have to be super tight. What I mean by that is it just has to be snug. It's not holding the wheel on, it's just holding it in place, the big difference. So you're going to get it so that the amount of pressure is what I'm doing right now. So with one hand you can squeeze it up. You want this arm to be facing up just so it doesn't get caught on anything when you're riding and it's kind of nice and neat out of the way. And you're going to look down the wheel and it's going to be centered with the bike frame like it is right now. Give it a little wiggle, there's no movement. You're going to look down in your brake pads and you're going to see that the rotor is inside the two brake pads and you're good to go. So that's how you put the front wheel on. Just don't forget, don't over tighten this and you're good to go. Move on to the next section in a second. Alright, we're back at RBSM Sports with the 2021 Mud Adder. We're going to put the handlebars on. So you got 4 bolts that hold the handlebars on the stem, 1, 2, 3, 4. You're going to pull out your very handy little hex wrench key or Allen key tool. It's got all the different sizes you need. This is a 4mm Allen key. It's on here. You unscrew all 4 bolts. So they've already started to unscrew them. Take them out. Don't lose them because there's also a little washer that's in the bolts. You don't want to lose those either. And we're going to grab the handlebars. Now make sure that the wire harness is not wrapped and fits cleanly on it. It's a pretty easy process. There are serrated edges here that the faceplate and the stem attach to. I'm going to put that on. You're going to line up the holes with your bolts and you're going to grab your Allen key and you're going to slowly tighten it up, snug it up so that the bolts are inside. Once you get all 4 bolts on and then snug them up, we'll come back and we'll go to the pedals next. Alright, we're back at RBSM Sports and the 2021 Mud Adder. So once you've got your faceplate attached to your stem for your handlebars, you want to tighten these 4 bolts to the point where I say tight but not over tight. I know it's not very specific, but if you have a torque wrench, it's 5 Newton meters. If you don't, just don't over tighten it because you can do damage. Once you get all 4 bolts tightened, you do them Go over them 3 or 4 times just to make sure they're nice and snug, and you're good to go. The next step is, and this is very, very important, we have 2 pedals. They are right and left hand side. If you look at the pedal spindle, you will see in very small letters, a R and an L. So right and left hand side. Now why that is because the pedals on one side are opposite threaded. So you think of this, whatever side you're putting the pedal on, turn it forward towards the front of the bike to thread it in. If it doesn't thread in immediately, you've got the wrong pedal. So as you can see on this one, we've got right. So you go around to the right hand side of the bike, which is the side of the bike that when you're sitting on it, I consider right. And you're going to thread forward until it just catches. And once it catches, it should go in very, very easily. Finger, like I'm threading this with my hand. No problems at all. You're going to take the other one, verify again that it says L on it, go to the left hand side, and again you're going to go forward until it catches the threads. Make sure it's square, and there's no effort required to thread these on. If there is, then there's a problem. As you can see, I just did it with my fingers. Super, 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 super easy. Threads on nice and smooth. And once you get to the point where your fingers don't fit anymore, you're going to grab your pedal wrench. And again, you'll see your pedal wrench, one side says 14/16, one side says 15/13. You're going to go to the side that says 15, and you're going to thread the pedal forward. Sorry, 16, and thread forward. And again, pedals do not have to be tight, they just have to be snug. Don't over torque them. If you do, you'll never get your pedals off and you need to get them off, so just make them snug. By pedaling forward, it keeps the pedals tight, so you don't have to worry about that. All right, when we come back, we're going to finish up the bike. All right, Sean back with RBSM and the 2021 Mud Adder. We're going to put the fenders on now. These are floating fenders, which means they're quite durable and they're easy to put on. So we're going to start with the rear fender, which is super easy. All you do is undo your quick release on your seat post, slide it out, put the fender back through, and slide it in. Once that's on, tighten it down, and then in here you're going to see a threaded nut. You're going to tighten it down. You're going to undo these 2 adjustment straps, and you're going to put your fender where you feel it's a good height. You know, not too close to the wheel because you don't want it touching, not too high because it'll just get in the way. So about halfway down the length of your saddle would be good. Once that's tightened down, you tighten that and you grab your front one. The front one has a little nut and bolt you take off. And this is just a rear fender because that's where the mud comes up as your wheel's going forward, so it's going to keep the mud off you. Hence Mud Adder. And once we attach it, try to find where to attach it. Can you stop for a second? All right, back with RBSM Sports and the 2021 Mud Adder. We're going to put the fenders on next. Very easy process. You just take the saddle out of the bike frame. The fender just slides onto it. There's a little screw here that tightens it. There's some adjustable knobs that you can adjust the angle of the fender if you like. So if you like it higher or lower, or whatever you like. Once that goes back on, measure the height, tighten down the quick release. Now your fender's ready to keep the mud off you. Now the front one, just as easy. There's a bolt that attaches to it. This goes on the back, and it's going to thread into the support brace on the front shocks. So if you look behind the front shocks, there's a little threaded hole. You thread this bolt into the front shock, and once it's tightened down, you're going to get it completely uptight, and it's going to keep the mud off the back of your legs as you're riding. All right. Back with RBSM Sports and the 2021 Mud Adder. We finished building the bike. Good condition, ready to go. You want to check tire pressure before you go out on the road. somewhere between 40 and 50 PSI. It's a Schrader valve, which almost every bike pump has. So just don't overinflate them. You can cause it to blow up on you. But 40 to 50 PSI is lots. Also, when you look at the bike, you're going to get a little blue card that gives you a web address for the manual. So the full manual, all the things we've talked about here are on there, and how to operate it, and all the little things that you may come across. So it's rbsmsports.com/manuals. You can download the manual. So once it's been put together, now we're going to talk about operation of the bike. Attached to the handlebars by a zip tie are your two keys. Do not lose these keys because they're specific to the battery. So if you lose them, you just can't turn them on, and it requires a locksmith. So I would always keep one in a safe spot and one for the bike. On the right-hand side of the bike is where the lock is. Key goes into the lock. It's got 3 positions: on, off, and operate, and unlock. So pretty easy to figure out. There's just turn it on, and power comes to the screen. To turn the screen on the left-hand side, you've got your plus, minus, and information button. At the very top is your power button. Hit that button, the screen comes on. It'll go through its startup phase. You'll see your speedometer, your odometer, and the amount of power that's in your battery. We'll go to that next. Next thing is, inside that big box, you're going to have your charger. Think of it as just a very big laptop battery. So on the bottom of the bike, there's a rubber grommet that covers the charging port. You want to peel that little grommet back carefully so you don't damage it. It plugs in just like a laptop. Plugs into the wall. And once it's plugged in, you're going to see a little light up in the corner. It's going to be red or green. Red meaning it's being charged, green meaning it has fully charged. You don't have to worry about overcharging this bike. It's a smart charger. It knows when to shut off and shut on, so you can't leave it charged when you're inside the house or when you're charging it. The other quick tip is that batteries are sensitive to temperature change. So when it's cold out wherever you are, whether it's hot out wherever you are, make sure you take the battery out. The battery comes out the bike fairly easily. Again, you unlock it. It comes out. The bottom, this part will come out. I'm not going to pull it out right now because it makes a clunking noise, but it's easily unlocked and replaced. That's the 2021 Mud Adder. Pretty easy bike to put together. I should have no problem at all. Thanks.